Welcome to my Action Research proposal. Action research is a form of self-reflective practice which is imperative in an ever-changing landscape. As such, I will explore the mechanisms of dialogic pedagogy to assess the impacts on student motivation and engagement, whilst also considering the integration of teaching and learning of the 21st century. My specific research aim is to explore how I can improve my practice and student engagement through the application of dialogic pedagogy. I will explore the mechanisms of dialogic pedagogy as well as the elements of the MEE framework and the REAL framework to assess the impacts on student engagement and motivation. This research will be conducted within a small, low socioeconomic status primary school in Western Sydney that is characterised by the displayed data derived from both the school's strategic plan and the My School website. The school motto is We Care. To support the student profile, the school uses a number of targeted interventions to attempt to support students and drive engagement and attendance. This includes targeted learning programs, positive behaviour for learning systems, targeted wellbeing programs, and trauma-informed practices as the school identifies as being characterised with children with traumatic backgrounds. This research will be implemented in an early stage 1 classroom. The classroom is of an adequate size to accommodate a multitude of seating arrangements and is vibrant in appearance due to the colourful and inviting display of student works. There are 17 students in the classroom that are socially, culturally and intellectually diverse, and in relation to the key learning area of English, 3 students are performing below stage level and a further 2 above stage level. The classroom teacher has extensive experience and ensures awareness of both the academic and emotional needs of the students. As such, there is a comprehensive understanding of the socio-cultural influences of students, which plays a part in the way in which the classroom is successfully managed. This in turn also stimulates a strong sense of peer support and belonging amongst students. In relation to pedagogical approaches, student-centred practices are part of lesson planning, although teacher-centred practices with rigid rules often prevail to manage student behaviour. As such, there is a lack of evidence of whether students are on task or in task. The classroom dynamics provides a strong foundation to explore dialogic pedagogy with the positive peer dynamic and strict yet nurturing approach of the classroom teacher. As I reflect on my experience, there are a number of missed opportunities for engagement and the teaching of English, including a lack of allocated time for further exploration of peer dialogue and my limited understanding of the assessment of student engagement. This led me to my research question of how can I improve my practice and student engagement through the application of dialogic pedagogy. Dialogic learning is more than just allowing social interactions in the classroom. It is an approach that emphasises purposeful and authentic dialogue and encourages active dialogue with peers and teachers to critically reflect and construct knowledge. There are a number of benefits and reasons for the application of this pedagogy. This pedagogy resonates with my teaching philosophy in that I believe that students are active agents and have the right to a voice. As early stage 1 students, it provides both foundational and 21st century skills of communication, active listening, critical thinking and reasoning. It also promotes social and emotional learning through interactions, and the aim is that it will assist to increase engagement through an increased sense of belonging, and as such is closely aligned to the elements of the MEE framework. The MEE framework will be used in the action research to understand the psychological and sociological underpinnings of student motivation and engagement, and as such, this framework will be used in the planning and analysis of this research. Substantive student engagement will be explored through analysing learning experiences and the interplay between cognitive, affective and operative aspects. My planning of learning experiences will also incorporate aspects of the inside a classroom as outlined in this slide. The learning experiences for the mini unit of work are summated in this slide and will utilise Pick the Fibber and Pick the Pug as focus text to explore connections to text, self, and the real world, providing engaging learning opportunities through planned dialogic time to empower students with voice, choice, and control whilst the teacher facilitates. This includes yarning circles, named to embrace the rich Indigenous culture, small group discussions, as well as think, pair, share activities. These learning experiences have been adapted from the Department of Education's New English Syllabus unit of work. These experiences are outlined on the following slides. To assess the value and outcomes of the utilisation of dialogic pedagogy in relation to student engagement, a triangular research approach will be applied. These methodologies will focus on the product of learning through work samples, the process of learning through observations, and the outcomes of learning through student self-reflection. Collectively, these approaches will allow me to capture the evidence needed in this action research, with each methodology having its own benefits and limitations as highlighted on this slide. Work samples will be collected in learning experiences 1, 2, and 3. This will include an analysis of both written text and drawings associated with the experience. Work will be annotated to highlight markers of engagement using the MEE framework and components of Spandell's 6 traits of writing in relation to voice, ideas, and organisation to assist it to determine both on-task and in-task analytics. Annotations will include coding as per the displayed coding table. Observations will be undertaken for each learning experience, and more specifically during yarning circles, as well as during small groups discussion. This will be covertly conducted by scanning the discussions of the yarning circle, as well as spending approximately 2 to 3 minutes with each group during small group discussions. Observations will be captured utilising the displayed observation table, which allows for structure of observations without limiting to a confined checklist. This table will be analysed in relation to the frequency of the behavioural elements being displayed by the student. Student self-reflection allows students to develop a deeper understanding of their learning process, achievements, relationship to each other, and a sense of belonging. This process will be conducted at the end of each learning experience via questions designed using the MEE framework and the unidimensional dimension of the real framework as pictured. This will be captured via facilitated discussion with the teacher, where I will record student responses that can later be transcribed and annotated to highlight engagement and disengagement markers. Specifically in English, Winch et al. Suggests that data in relation to the assessment of teaching and learning of English can be assessed through both systematic methods as well as teacher intuition. Whilst academic achievement will be assessed against syllabus outcomes, each lesson will include data collection methodologies to ensure sufficient evidence to make informed decision-making. The data will be annotated and reviewed to assess substantive engagement markers of the MEE framework, and then finally compared against pedagogical practices. Here is an example of the way in which data collected will be reviewed against both engagement and disengagement markers. This will be completed for each student and highlight the dialogical practices that resulted in higher student engagement. Finally, Once I have comprehensively reviewed and summated engagement markers, I will then explore my pedagogical change against engagement outcomes so that I can make an informed decision as to the impact of my change in practice and whether it was effective in improving my practice and student engagement. This will be determined in relation to a series of reflective questions, including what was the impact on student engagement overall? Which change in practice resulted in higher engagement? Was my practice improved? And then finally, I will also reflect on the information to question how I can continue to improve and therefore continue to engage in the cycle of reflective practice. Throughout this action research, my own development will be concurrently enhanced and will provide a multitude of professional development implications. These learnings will be captured in an ongoing reflective journal where I can continue to reflect on my practice and question how I can improve. More specifically, my development will align to the Australian Professional Teaching Standards in the following ways. In relation to Standards 1, 3, and 4, the implementation of dialogic pedagogy and the MEE framework will allow for further understanding of how students learn and how I can support student engagement for effective teaching and learning. In relation to Standard 6, this action research in practice will also develop my professional learning as I analyse a range of pedagogical research as well as gain professional feedback from my mentor teacher throughout the process. Through continued action research and the aim of ongoing development, I will continue to strive to be an agile 21st century educator that continually improves pedagogy to meet the diverse needs of all my students now and into the future.